Thanks for connecting with the Arrow team this week. Hope you've been enjoying reading our blogs. We've enjoyed collating the material and distributing that with our broader stakeholders. Last week, you might recall reading a blog around what it is to work from home. And we gave a few tips and ideas on how best to do that. Well, the team at Arrow thought we'd look at something different this week. Still important, still around working from home and being at home. But we thought we'd explore the idea of what it is to lead from home. So here's a few tips and ideas from the Arrow team. The first one, and this applies whether you're at home or not, and that is to lead by example. The reality is your team are looking to you to understand how it is they are to work from home. So set the benchmark, set the temperature, be the barometer, set the vibe of what it is to work from home. Be a great example of how you can work in an efficient way, in an effective way, and still enjoy all of what it is to work from home. So be an example. That's really important. I think it's really important that we have a rhythm and routine around how often we check in with one another. It could be a daily routine, it could be a weekly routine, or maybe it's both. Maybe you have a system whereby you check in with all your team throughout that period of time, as if you are working from the one office. Peter suggested that it's really important that we establish rules of engagement so that your team know what to expect in communication. So you might have a particular rule around response time to SMS or response time to email. And we have some understandings around how best to respond to those communications. So it's really important that your team understand what are the appropriate rules of engagement. Another one that we need to understand as leaders, and this applies again, whether you're working from home or not, is that when you're leading, you need to be an encourager. There is plenty of discouragement out there in social media. Perhaps it's time to have some social media distancing. My encouragement to you, our encouragement to you as you seek to lead your team is to try and build your team up and not to tear them down. Look for ways you can speak life into them, speak faith into them, because they are looking for that. And it's even all the harder when you're physically distant. So can I encourage you during this season to be really deliberate about encouraging your team, speaking life and hope into them. I think it's important, and Peter certainly connected with this one, that we need to use different forms of communication for different outcomes. Email is a broadcast function, absolutely. We use an internal system of communication at Arrow called Slack. Some of you may be familiar with that. That allows us to really focus conversations and focus the right people for those conversations. For something that's a little bit more personal and one-on-one, we might choose to use FaceTime. Remember, there are still times in your team where you need to have those one-on-one conversations and be able to see the face of the other person. Emulating a conversation in the tea room, or perhaps down the hallway, or maybe you go for a walk in the park. So seek to provide opportunity for that. Lisa was quick to point out it's really important for us to use technology not just for work items, but for social interaction. Choose to have a break at 10:30, Zoom in your fellow team members and sit there and have a coffee with them. Maybe have a lunch break with them in another way. Just give them a call and say good day. No reason, just popping your head over the workstation and saying hello. Well, they're the sort of things we do when we're working in the one office. Try and emulate that when you're at home. As we discussed ideas, one idea that really came strong was that we need to work willingly. We need to work hardly. We need to give the best of who we are to the task at hand. So we need to find out when we work best. For me, I'm a morning person, so I do all my creative projects in the morning and leave other activity to the afternoon. If you're leading your team and some of your team members work better later in the day, perhaps that's the best thing for them to do. Our ideal is that people don't watch hours when they're working from home, but actually watch outcome. Allow your team to flourish so they can produce the outcome that you're hoping for them. I think also when we're working from home, we need to exercise a great deal of self-control, because the boundaries between work and home can be blurred. So can I encourage you, perhaps you have a really deliberate system of turning away and moving away from work and moving into home life so that you give your best to work and you give your best to home. And most importantly, remember that God is still God. You are still called to lead in Jesus' name. Sure, the ground rules have changed, no doubt, but He hasn't.